So you're from SCIRE, is it? Is that
Yes, yeah, SCIRE. It's actually based off Latin, which scire, which means to know, and it's the basis of the word science.
Okay.
Because our focus is very much on building equipment which helps kind of further more scientific explorations and experiments into the paranormal, and sort of break it down to sort of the lower level to kind of understand the different variables of the environment, really.
Yeah, and you got a few devices here today for sale. So they primarily look at things like looking at environmental conditions.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, they're all based off our approach for like the last 10 years has been to take data loggers along to investigation. So they record all the environmental conditions during the entire night. We have one in each room, we have one outside, and when events occur, someone sees something or hears something, we log that on the same devices, and then afterwards use all that data to then say, that type of event, like a door opening, what conditions did that occur in, and is there any sort of correlation? Is there something there which says it's more likely to happen, or it got caused by it?
Yeah.
And over time, we found that there are certain variables, certain sensors we use in conditions, which did seem to have patterns. So one of the pieces of equipment I used, the Aeroflux, looks at air pressure, because we were seeing a small fluctuation in air pressure, both for and not, so positive and negative, of 0.7 millipascals, which occurred during or just before something else happening. So on the data logger, we could see it starting to fluctuate, and then K2 would go off, or the door handle would shift or something. So the equipment I built was more for like our investigation, kind of what was going on there, and the device focuses specifically on what's actually going on, and using that pattern of fluctuation to detect when something's happening. So it has an alarm which says, when I've seen that fluctuation of 0.7, flash orange, and if it goes past 10, flash red. So you can then plonk those down in different places in the room to then see, is the air pressure actually changing in one spot, or is it changing all over the place? And that's more natural, because we can then compare that to outside, and if there's weather going on, then that fluctuates all over the place. But it's been very, 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 very interesting how often we're getting this thing happening and something else happening at the same time.
And do you have any explanation for that? Do you have any theories on why that might happen?
A couple. So there's not much which changes air pressure, because it's how much air is compressed at that point in time and space. And the only way to change that is you introduce a physical body to an environment to push the air, more compress it more, or the relative gravity has to change to pull more air down. So those are two things that can occur. So theories are either twofold. One, something physically is pushing that air towards the sensor because it exists suddenly in the room and it didn't before. Or two, we are somehow connecting at that point to an environment which has different gravity, because I don't think anything would likely affect gravity without being massive. So using a theory of maybe we're talking to another dimension, or somehow connecting to another frequency of a dimension, we're then witnessing a slightly different amount of gravity, which then changes the air pressure locally.
That'll make sense.
Difficult to check gravity though. I've looked into it and trying to record gravity.
You need like a 6 mile long.
You do. You need an old copper mine that's 7 miles underground and stuff.
It's
difficult to shovel around a fort.
So it's more looking at the effect rather than the cause, then.
Kinda.
And the correlation between them.
Exactly. Trying just to see what proportion of times does this happen compared to when it doesn't happen, when it happens and then nothing actually is witnessed. But we've used it to find events we didn't spot during the night. So we look at the graph at the end of the night, compare it against the outside graph, and then any differences and where the pressure seems to be different, it shouldn't be. Check all the footage at that point, because we sync up everything in the building. When we investigate, every room's got an audio recorder. Every investigator's got an audio recorder, cameras all around, and then we sync that all up so we can just jump between person and person, room and room. And we found EVPs, and we found knocks and things moving and equipment going off, which we didn't witness on the night, but we found because of the air pressure fluctuation.
And so are you an investigation team as well as an equipment provider, or a team that...
I started off with and I'm still with a team called Southern Ghost Society.
Right.
And I started off just building the equipment we were using to investigate this, all really specific things we were trying to experiment in the locations. And I just kind of adapted to then try to get this out, because I had lots of people asking me when they came to like events or out with Southern Ghost Society, that's really interesting. Well, I've not seen anyone do that. Can I have a go at it? I thought, scientific method, one of the tenets of that is you need to share your experiment and other people conduct it in isolation to see if they get some result. And I thought, this is a great way of doing it. So I now am making equipment to sell, but I do it at a very low rate. I literally do enough to cover the cost of shipping, making it, and less than minimum wage for me to do it. But I'm absolutely loving the response I'm getting back from other teams and streamers and just individuals are saying, I'm getting this go off a lot. I love this.
What are your most popular tools?
Weirdly enough, my TAD, which is a thermal anomaly detector, which is just to detect hot spots and cold spots in a very localized ambient environment, rather than the sort of infrared gun type approach. And people like those because they like that way of dumping down something which can detect when someone says, "Oh, I'm feeling cold on my right hand side," or "I feel keep feeling this draft." They just grab that, plonk it down, and then that backs up when someone is actually getting that cold feeling. With a kind of sharp, easier to see response.
Yeah, it's really good, and everything's obviously available online as well.
Yep, you can purchase these at sciretech.co.uk or sending an email at contact@sciretech.co.uk.